So welcome. Welcome to another exploration into consciousness with the Earth Noble Hub. So good to have you here. And I think what we're going to do to start off with, before I'm going to introduce the topic, the teaching for today, let's just do a little grounding exercise. Grounding exercise probably from a place of calling in our auric field and just arranging it nicely around ourselves. So let's do this. Let's take let's say that the right hand, two fingers, middle finger, index, onto the third eye between the eyebrows, ridge of the nose. And then take your other two fingers, hook them into your belly button. If you have to open your jeans or whatever you're wearing, just hook them in. Good. And then just gently draw it up and close your eyes for a moment. And just take a couple of deep, nourishing breaths here. And just wherever your auric fields are at the moment, just pull them in gently and just arrange them around you. And usually we say you want to have them, if you can stretch out your arms to the side. I can, one arm. And then just imagine an auric egg around you. And just keep it arm's length basically around you. And just maybe want to check on any holes, if there are any holes in it, any knots. And just breathe through those, breathe them out, breathe them in. Just keep our energy nicely flowing. And then also for the rest of the conversation that we're having, making sure that we're not encroaching on other people's energies, that we're not sapping other people's energies, that we're not overextending our energies into other people's fields. We don't necessarily have to sit next to each other in order to become aware of that, how easy it is to interfere with other people's energy fields. And not just people, obviously, everything else. Good. Cool. So the topic today is the cocktail of stubbornness. And I've come up with this, we come up with this teaching, but the context of this has come up through the last couple of days. And it's arranged itself synchronistically, interestingly enough. So what I've been looking at is the deeper we delve into the ocean of awareness, the more beauty and radiance is looking at us. Lots of people are starting to perceive that energy. And it's almost like it's not a new energy, but it's that energy that connects us with everything. And of course, as we connect to that energy and become more aware, our levels of awareness are heightening. We're also being faced with an increased pattern recognition. And that pattern recognition often takes us back into the sea of suffering. And the sea of suffering is not necessarily a bad thing, as we know, because it is a source for the ocean of awareness. But it can be used for, obviously, personal healing. And then in addition to that, what's coming through quite a bit as we're talking about this communion of energy coming through, we're also using the increase of pattern recognition for transpersonal healing. So we're really stepping it up. And the majority of the people on this call, and probably the listeners as well, or watchers afterwards, they are becoming more and more aware of stepping into service to clearing the collective. So being aware of, you know, whatever we're discussing today is being aware of that. Not necessarily those small mirrors are not necessarily the ones to look into. So not everything that you are seeing outside of yourself is something that you still have to heal within yourself. But definitely whatever you're seeing outside yourself is something that you could actually point out to other people with permission. So the reason why I have this tree stump as my background today has something to do with our topic of stubbornness. This is the time in this country where lots of people have their trees cut and pruned and pollarded, and including myself. So, you know, it kept on coming back to me, you know, these stubs of trees everywhere, you know, seeing them and knowing how you feel about it when you have to take out some of those self-spawned trees. They are infringing on other trees and things like that. It's almost like where you're making a choice, where a decision, you know, to take them out with permission of the tree, you know, and all of that. Now, so I looked up stubbornness, and so interestingly, for the last 2 weeks, I've been working with trees being pruned and everything. So I'm going to just read to you what come up. What is this Oxford Dictionary of Word Histories? So starting with stub. Stub, in origin, Old English stub, was a stump of a tree. The notion of a portion being left behind when something has been removed. And remember that. The portion that has been left behind when something has been removed. And then stubborn itself says the word origin is unknown. It is commonly assumed that the word is from stub, a theory which holds up with regard to sense. A stub being difficult to move, but not to form. So the tree stump is difficult to get rid of, which I have learned, you know, in the last 2 weeks. You either poison it and wait until it dissolves itself, or you have to grind it down, which is quite a bit of a job to do. Whereas pruning, pollarding, what they call it here as well, depending on how much you want it done, is quite easy. So the form, to form something, is easier than to really remove that stump, that tree stump. So stubborn. That was the first thing I thought, this is interesting. Stubborn is not a word that we have reframed yet in our circles here, but stubborn is definitely a word that has come up in my life many, many times. I've been called stubborn many, many times. But before I'm going to go into what my perception of stubborn is, I want to actually ask every single one of you, what does stubborn actually mean to you? Before we go into the cocktail that creates stubbornness from a quality of wounding and abuse. Yeah. So what does stubborn mean to you?
I mean, to me, it means holding on to something. It could be an idea, an ideal, with no matter what kind of evidence is presented against it.
Mm-hmm. So holding on to without evidence. Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
For me, it's like it's really hard to give it up when I'm trying to do something and that I look for the way to make it happen. And sometimes that can take a risk because I go the extra efforts and maybe was not meant to do it. You know, sometimes have be a lot of challenge on that matter to understand myself. You gotta stop or go different direction or do it different way or something. Because when I have something in my mind to do it, I force myself doing the over task to be able to do it. And sometimes it's good, but sometimes when you go the extra, then it's kind of a little challenge.
So what you're saying, Herminia, is there's a force to it. There's, for you, that particular one, there is a force to it. There is a going against the flow.
Exactly.
What I'm finding, and I've only started looking at that now, is that stubborn is often misidentified as determination. And, you know, I do remember when I was called stubborn, I was almost proud of it at the time.
Yeah.
Because it was part of my, oh yeah, I'm, as you say, you go the extra mile, right? But the effort and the risk you've just mentioned is interesting because it's often out of proportion of what the achievement actually brings, right?
Yeah.
Irina.
Yeah, I have something to say.
What is it?
What's stubborn for me, it's a very ancient force that we choose at some point just to move forward to the end. And on a way, a lot of beings who were unbalanced in that pushing forward, stuck in their stubbornness, so they got too much and stopped managing pushing, but pushing with vision. And actually today, what I see in people, stubbornness, very often, it's a trauma. And they know inside of them they are right. They know inside of them, they have that feeling, but they kind like stuck among people today who can see that. Why those kids, usually it's starting from childhood, why those kids pushing, why those kids insisting to look differently at something, some possibilities. So, and then of course, no one see you, no one hears you, and you continue with your life because inside you know you're true. You know inside that what you are trying to deliver, it's needed to be heard, to be heard. It needed to be remembered. So it's kind of like force that helped us, but at the same time, you see those stuck beings, they continue pushing their agenda, even today, in these times of this opening of window of possibilities. And this is what I see in the world now. It's just unbelievable how active they become. Like those old ancient teachers, ancient deities, knowledges, you know, it's my vision.
And it's spot on, isn't it? I mean, why are we working on stubbornness? Why are we bringing this up? Because we are seeing it, because there is a difference between being right and righteousness.
It's not exactly right in human term, and that knowing inside in only human vision what life is. It's a very deep vision that is connecting to kids. Kids are different. They are not adults. Kids knows more and can say less, can explain less. So that stubbornness in kids, it means a lot for environment mostly, not to attack them. But this is our society backwards. Yeah, we attack those kids and we make them stay in their knowing, trying to deliver that something from their, what they came here to deliver. But society most of the time not ready.
So
Yeah.
keep that in mind, what Irina just said, as we are starting to, in a moment, to look into those ingredients in that cocktail of stubbornness. What kind of values or what kind of energies are in that cocktail of stubbornness? But before we go there, I want a couple more people, maybe who else wants to say what stubbornness means to them?
Well,
Sandrine
I like to say
or
something.
Lana, yeah? Lana and then Sandrine, yeah?
Okay. So I've been told by my mother many, many times over my lifetime that I'm stubborn, since I was little, but not in a harsh way, that I have that harshness in this, stubborn way. But for me, what it means in that sense, in my interpretation, what I'm being told is just me standing my ground and in what I believe in the moment for me. And so so that's being interpreted that I'm not doing what you want me to do. And therefore I'm considered by you stubborn. And so that's the interpretation. So for me, it's just me standing my own grounds in the truth, my truth, what I believe in, and not going along with what you want for me. And so in that case, that's my interpretation of when I saw the statement about stubbornness.
Yeah.
But then what Irina was saying, there's, a lot of opposites to what I'm feeling as being stubborn with, people in the world who we can see right now in the news being so stubborn about their ideology and things like that. So that's a different interpretation from mine.
Yeah, and this is why, let's go back to that definition. And Sandrine, just 1 second, let's just go back to that one definition I've read here, which for me was so significant. And this is where my picture comes in as well, of the tree stump, the stump is difficult to move, but the whole tree is very easy to form. The tree stump is easy to move, but the tree itself, the branches are very easily clipped off. So that obviously very much metaphorically shows us where stubbornness actually comes from. And this is one of the questions. How much have we been clipped? What has been removed from us so much that we have created that stubbornness for us to survive, created that stubbornness for us to pressurize ourselves, having to achieve, having to be better because we're not good enough, that kind of thing. So for me, making that connection to stubbornness now has opened up a completely different way of looking at stubbornness. Sandrine, sorry, you wanted to say something.
No problem. It's very, everything that you are discussing here, and Irina, thank you very much, because actually this was probably what we have: a stubborn idiot outside running his motorcycle, and I'm going to kill him very soon. Sorry. No, Irina, thank you very much, because I think this was most of my problems in my childhood. That, I knew things and I was stubborn enough to tell them all the time that this is not what I wanted, but this is something else, and I don't want to do that, or something like this. And I was also labeled, stubborn only because I'm also an Aries, and Aries, they are stubborn, they go with the head through the wall. But what they don't perceive is that we are going with the head through the wall because we think it is very worthwhile doing that because it is important, you know, there is an important behind it, why we are doing that, why we would even kill our own head, you know, our own self, hurt our own self to actually move something forward because we believe in it and we feel that it is important. And then on the stuff that you're coming up, and here is the forester, you know, it's me, forestry science. You actually, what you see there is like, it's like the iceberg. You only see the iceberg standing up there because below that there is a whole root system that is connected miles, you know, it depends on the tree, miles connected to everything around it, you know, and again, depending on the tree, if it was a really huge tree, like, you know, like the oak tree, then as far as its branches goes, that's as far as its root system goes, and then it goes very deep down. I don't know if some of you guys have maybe seen the tree that they dug up from Woodhenge, not the Woodhenge, but the tree that is, it is in England, and I think it's not far from Woodhenge. Woodhenge is actually, and there is one tree that has been buried with its root system upside down by the Druids. And you know, it's like it's impressive, you know, this and it has been venerated, and I do believe it has a lot to do with the fact, you know, for what above and below to connect, you know, the below with the above and the above with below. So yes, it's a very interesting discussion, and I do believe that because labeling children and also people with stubbornness, you know, this is nonsense. It's, you are stubborn, okay, the notion of what do we actually mean by that, because a lot of it is falsely labeled, as it also, if I look at my personality profiles that has just been done through the MBTI process, I'm apparently not stubborn at all anymore. Oh, suddenly I'm not. I'm apparently I'm becoming more diplomatic. I'm the harmonizer.
That's clear because you've come on our shows.
No, I know that. I know. And also some other, you know, some other influences. No, I'm joking. But no, absolutely. And I do believe what has also my recent exploration of philosophy and also the meaning of words, how we have lost so many of the initial meanings, you know, and how it has been labeled and relabeled and actually completely reversed, you know. Revolution is one of it, actually. I was just reading up on that last night. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. I will try to find the tree, the upside down tree in England.
Fantastic. I've looked up because I love the metaphorical expressions, you know, and idioms when it comes to any word or energy. And when I looked up stubbornness, there are a couple of things that came up. It's like banging one's head against the brick wall. Stubborn as a mole. Hard-headed. Digging in one's heels. Refusing to budge an inch. Sticking to one's guns. Set in one's ways. Locking horns with someone. Standing one's ground. Holding firm. You know, all of these things can be totally misapplied, and we can say, well, that's all good, right? Because we need to fortify our I am and all of that, and this is like healthy boundaries, and this is like, you know, this is what we need in order to not encroach, having anyone encroach into our privacy and stuff like that. And is that really the case at a level that we are operating on, where we're starting to actually acknowledge that, you know, there is an energy field that connects us, that doesn't encroach on our individuality, but we impact on each other through our choices. And there is no need to force that communication, cooperation, union, but we can just go with the flow. And this is where all the synchronicities come in, isn't it? When we work with synchronicities, and synchronicities is another thing that's brought up this teaching today, you know, and we're going to go into that more. Anyone else? Yeah, Irina.
Yeah. You see, we are in transition. Everyone talks about this, correct? Even those people who are not spiritual, they see something changing and nothing like it was yesterday. So we are in the change time transition, and we are changing actually everything. And if we look at these definitions that we have from yesterday, those definitions were mostly in human term of understanding of life. What is life experience? This is how we would operate. We would have definitions that would connect only to human part of experience. Now, when we are in transition, everyone sees that it's not human life like it was yesterday. Some stuff that you can't explain logically coming into our life. So everyone see it's opening, it's expanding, it's unfolding, not just human life perception and definitions like we had yesterday. So we are in this transition, have opportunity to start to form different language for that more expanded, like I say, experience with vision, yeah, with your personal expansion. So if we look at stubbornness yesterday definition, yes, it's only human part of experience included in that definition, and it's pain on both sides. And those people who are bouncing their head and trying to reach something, and those who are around, it's pain for everyone. It's uncomfortable experience in human term. But today, when we start to form this new language, new definitions, we can see that in spirit level, on spirit level, there is no pain. There is no pain. It's only something happening, action happening. And actually, if you see it as force for us to bring our memories, to bring what we know inside into our consciousness, remembering here, to use it for our experience choices, then it's actually celebration. It's actually celebration of remembering. When those kids coming on earth and they remember more than adults. You see, and this is what coming from that childhood through that stubbornness. Adult can't relate most of the time. Why that kid saying that? Why that kid insisting? They just don't understand from where it's coming, because it's not only human level of experience.
It's not only human level, exactly, experience, and it's not only their experience. It's actually the lineage that they are clearing, and lots of those kids that are coming in, clearing the collective. So in order to make it a bit simpler for us to clear, you know, so that we can eventually get to that celebration of our so-called stubbornness that we used to have or be, let's look at those. Let's break it down a little bit. And again, it was a synchronistic unfolding that got me to this whole thing. What happened was that in the last 2 weeks, I've been receiving 2 fines, a parking fine and a speeding fine. One of those annoying ones, 35 instead of 30, which gives me 3 points on my license. But apart from that annoying thing, I looked and thinking, well, this is very unusual to have 2 signs from an authority, right? 2 authorities telling me that I was doing something wrong. Now, let's look at the authority figures that we used to have. Let's look at the child that we used to be, that our generation used to be. How many of authority figures, like Sandrine already mentioned, you know, as well, have we had, and still have, in terms of, you know, government rules, you know, vehicle rules, this and this and this, that actually has been causing, as part of that ingredients of stubbornness. Because all this authority that we are being standing under, right? Having to look up to, that kind of authority, whatever authority you can think of, is part of who is cutting our branches down to that stump. And a lot of us have had even our stump poisoned by that kind of authority. So stubbornness is a part of us retaliating, trying to get our branches, our tree growing again, our branches wide and beautifully blossoming with fruit and everything. Now, of course, we can argue the point that this is not necessarily, stubbornness is not going to get us there, but it gives us an understanding why so many of us understand the word stubbornness. So authority is one of them. And authority can be, you know, your boss at work, or your superior, your partner, even if the partner begins to, you know, work on a hierarchical structure and things like that. Everything, and this is where maybe we can bring in the righteousness or the rightness. You know, every time you are having your knowingness questioned, every time you're having your energy field infringed, there is an authority, there becomes that hierarchy. Anyone wants to say something to that, to my first?
There was an interesting conversation going on Facebook today on this group that I'm on called Crystal Healing, Know Your Stones. And one woman had posted this beautiful Andara stone and says, hey, what do you guys think of this? And she just got pruned and pruned and pruned, you know, after these sort of like more scientific, old structural thinking people on the group were saying, oh, there's no such thing, this is BS. And they were, you know, quoting from different sites about how Andaras don't, you know, they're just glass. And you know, and I work with that type of stone, and I have for a long time. So I looked at that stone and I could feel the energy from it. So I just said, hey, you know what? I feel the energy of it. It's a beautiful piece, and, you know, just sort of left it at that. But I could see just, you know, in this group of how that, you know, reduction of what her experience was that she wanted to share was just like covered over. And she was just like, uncle, I'm crying, uncle. So I just thought that was a very funny example that happened today in this day-to-day life. And, you know, thinking about what Irina was saying, that's it, right? It's that, like, that deep knowingness that we have, and we're connected to all of these multidimensional parts of ourselves, and, you know, past life parts and childhood parts. And when people can't see the unseen, they're threatened by it, right? They're threatened by that energy of wait a minute, I don't understand what you are perceiving. That makes you wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, fun conversation. Thank you guys for bringing it up. I'm in this full blast being present. You see, you started authority. You confirmed, Tanya, authority of the group, and seeking for confirmation from those people who get to some remembering, God touch something inside and want to spread. It's the same thing, you see? And let's remember about system. Remember what AB told us long ago, you can't beat the system. Oh, guys, it's not possible. And even you don't want to beat the system. Why? We specifically created this dream to go in those limitations experiences, this physical world to explored by consciousness. Yeah, so we dreamt that how to make that system work to make us to go down to limit. So now what we need to do, not to fight the system, not to again reach for some confirmation or say you must change. It can't, because it's our energy in the system. They will not exist without us supporting them with our giving them some evaluation and participating in what system telling us to do, or following or fighting. This is how we keep that system alive. So what we can do now, see the system. Yeah, we still have man-made rules. See the system, what we involve, like with tickets and all that. But all those accidents, all those events we have reaching with, meeting with system, it's only for us to recognize. We have inner world, inner vision of what's happening, and we have outer participation in this world. Yeah, outer participation, it's still twisted, but inside of us, when we see it's a system and I don't like it anymore, I don't want that experience, we can have that inner knowing that you transmit into world. Not anymore, thank you very much. But if you fight only outside, do only your outside actions, it changes nothing, because you are kind like involved into that system. You are fighting, you're giving your energy, your attention. So what we need to do, first we need to have that inside confirmation from you to you. Do I want to have that experience? Do I give to that system any right from now on to be that way and act with me that way and act with humanity that way? This is the case today in this transition. And then you make your actions outside, whatever you can change outside. Sometimes when you have that statement inside, it's changing behavior of the system. It can't grab you. Remember, be in a world, but not of the world. Be unpredictable to the system. This is happening today, but first it must come from your inner statement inside, not to bring it immediately outside into your action.
So let me bring in, since you're talking about the system like that, that feeds off each other's energy, yeah, where humanity feeds off each other's energy, as we have learned, you know, through various, teachings. Again, by coincidence, I went to the charity shop yesterday and I found the Celestine prophecy, or Celestine prophecy again, the book. And I thought I had read it already, but you know, I had not read it. So you are actually, I'm just halfway in, and it's a beautiful reminder. So whoever hasn't read it, it's a good time to read it now, because the jargon is different, the words are different. So, you know, Irina is saying that the system, yeah. Now, I think it's the fourth insight. I got to that stage that very much indicates how mankind, humanity, especially over the last 400 years, is feeding off each other's energies. So when we say don't invest your energy into something, what I would like to invite us to do, like what Tanya was saying, is, you know, when we have these discussions and everybody has that, again, that leads us back to righteousness or having to be right or anything. What we are actually doing is, because we have forgotten that the energy is limitless and we are actually connected to source energy. So nobody can actually deplete our energy. As long as we remember that, hold on, let me just finish my thought. As long as we remember that we are source connected, So what we are doing by trying to get each other's points of views out, sometimes, not just point of views, but, you know, cutting, pruning other people's ideas and things like that. It's a way of sucking their energy. It's a way of taking their energy away so that we're filling up our energy reserves, right? Now, when we have, so let's say, for instance, to take Tanya's example, that lady that got pruned, she could have just said, you know what, guys, or known that nobody can take my energy away, because energy really just flows through me. I do not give my core energy to anyone. I'm connected to source, and just allow that energy to flow through. And this is very, very important for all of us now who are stepping into service for the collective, because we're starting to take on those. We're not taking them on, but we're starting to heal those patterns that are coming through now. Irina.
Okay, let's see this twist. You said feed off each other energy. This is exactly what system is doing.
That's the system, yes.
Instead of recognizing that system exists only on human energy, people energy, yeah, recognizing that, they understood. So what did they do? Instead of have that exchange, I put something into system need to give me something back. This was agreement initially. But what system did? Listen to this. They created volunteering. Help each other. There is no such a thing in universe volunteering. Everything is equal exchange. Everything. You put something in, you remember how it works. You put something in, you receive something back. And usually you receive valuable for you as you put in. And then you happy and you go your way, yeah? So system created this thing like help each other. You see how it's going? So instead of, again, thinking about its unlimited source, this is what will be and continue. What you need to do, why you even demanding that, prove, or why you even knocking into the door? Because you know you put something into that system. What you need to do, take that something from the system before you will see you as unlimited source connection. You have to take on energy level your agreement with the system to exist in a way it exists right now and existed for a long time. But at that time, it was playing a very valuable role for our choice of experience. It was limiting us. Now we are done with that direction. Now we are going into expansion, remembering those miracles in our life, natural, yeah? So first what we need to do, take out from that system your energy. Again, it's that contract revocation. This is that inside remembering I put my energy there, and if I will anyhow have any attitude towards system, I'm still putting my energy there. So stop doing that. Have your inside decision. Do you want that experience or not? That system putting you in, yeah? Have that inside. This is how you take your energy from system. And then you act. Then you think, and build, and remember, you are unlimited connection to source, and then you continue. In this way, you're not stepping on a journey of any one person, people, yeah, not any one person, and you won't give that volunteering thing in relation. This is admitting, pity you, yeah, pity you can't remember. I need to give you something. And what do? We give ours instead of saying, wow, look here. And that person like, whoa, here I can change and have different way of act. And this is person connected to their unlimited source instead of a horizontal connection drawing from each other. It would be unlimited vertical vertical to source. You see, this is what we need to do, recognize why we are in those relations that we try to get from each other.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You know,
Okay, Herminia, go.
it's so interesting how this thing congruent one with other, because this morning I was talking to one of my friends, and I was talking to her about the Celestine prophecy.
Oh, yeah.
And I said that was one of the books that catch my attention and make me realize how important it is to understand that we are just, looking the way how get connected with that energy that Irina mentioned. That is, everybody has access, but we forget because the process that we go through life. And then I was telling to her like the movies from Walt Disney. I was mentioned about the ant and how to train a dragon. And there's a one scene over there when the dragons in the village were stealing all the fish. Those fish was not for them. It was to feed the huge monster dragon that they were breeding all the fish. And then in the movie Ants, there's one scene where the main character, the one that was coming to they want to wipe out the population, and his response to them was because they don't have collect all the food that they had to have ready for them when they come into the colony of the ants to receive, right? Because they had the ants working for them to collect energy or whatever it was for them to come in to collect it. And when he's resting then to say, we're going to wipe you out all. And then the main character said, well, you cannot do that because you feed from us. And it was so fascinating because those movies, there has so much profound message. And it just transformed me to that moment when Irina was talking about the prophecy thing. When you mentioned the prophecy thing, I said, oh my God, I would just open my mouth to say about the how we exchange energy, how the wife and they play the role and the husband and the kids, and just feeding energy one another. So we pity, we sorry, we demanding, your guiltiness, and how we play all that role, just feeding from one another. And then you're pumping up with the Celestine and say, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
You know, I went to the shops and charity shops, and I said, show me something that is relevant for my trip, and needless to say, the Celestine prophecy is actually, all happening in Peru at the moment. That was the story. That is the story.
Wow, that's amazing.
You guys, what you, Herminia, and Irina are just saying about the system actually leads us nicely into the second ingredient of the stubbornness, because remember, we're talking about stubbornness, so I'd like to bring it back. Second ingredient, I'd like to call this betrayal, being betrayed by the system. Notwithstanding the fact that we have been part of it. Yes, we have been part of the system, all of that. Now, we didn't see that coming. Or did we see that coming? That's another interesting idiom. Didn't see that coming. And that, again, that was a synchronicity that came in. How did I come into this? How did I think of betrayal as such? Let me just say what I want to say on this. How did it happen for me for that to be another ingredient for stubbornness? First of all, I've been receiving letters for some time. I think I mentioned that last time. Somebody using my address, abusing my address for their fine, So there was a link to betrayal. You could say that is a form of betrayal, right? And then the other thing is, didn't see that coming. There's a phrase my daughter uses quite frequently, and I've been looking at that, and she says, I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Now, there's a lack of, when I'm so confused, and I can see that too, there's a lack of awareness. there is confusion, a lack of awareness, because my branches have been cut. I can't necessarily see. I don't have all the awareness. Something is veiled from it because for whatever reason now, for what kind of betrayal. And of course, we can take that back into childhood. We can take that back into, you know, partnership. We can take that into school, you know, friends, all kind of betrayal, whatever comes up for you. And then, of course, you know, that other stubborn thing in that stubbornness definition was quite fun, because my daughter was telling me about a situation where she said, you know, I didn't see that coming and I'm so confused. And then I look up stubborn, and what it actually says here, it says the word stub. Yeah, again, English in sense of grab up. The meaning accidentally strike. Accidentally strike, like stubbing your toe. You remember that expression, stubbing your toe? You don't do that on purpose. You don't do that with prep. You don't do that. It's like, oh, fuck, just up my toe. There's an accidental strike. Now, that kind of betrayal, that can really hurt when somebody betrays you and you didn't see that coming, right? It's like, even when you stub your toe, oh yeah, I didn't see that coming. It's that, and it goes straight into the chest, straight into the heart. And how much of those accidental strikes that we didn't see coming have we been receiving as children? I mean, I could list many that confused me because I didn't see that coming. I wasn't expecting to be betrayed by certain people the way I was betrayed. And that's quite interesting, because it's not even, oh my God, you are a bitch or a bastard and you shouldn't do that. It was more like, I didn't see that coming. And that betrayal, you know, and that is another ingredient for stubbornness.
But do you know what?
Yeah.
I have seen that stubbornness in the new kids that are coming in now. Because I guess because the system, from my point of view, because the system is opening, like, you know, the veil is opening a little, that we can remember a little more. Those kids are coming now. You tell them to do something and they right away, they say no. And then you say, why? No, because I don't. And they are just in that position. For me, they are like stubbornness, because they are more certain about themselves. Like when we were growing up, that we have it, like you mentioned in the beginning, that's like an X shape or energy that, according to Don Matus from the shaman from Tasha, that we are born with that a glow for energy, and then we go start splitting out, because we start getting the program from us, from our family, from our school, whatever, to survive in the 3D expression. Then what this new generation that coming now, they don't have most that we have, because they are very eat this. No, I don't want that. They say, why not? Because I don't like it. We have to eat it even we don't want it. I think there are more certainty about their own highs, knowing that we did, because we still had, you know, like I had like 20 years looking my way out to all this thing in my life, and I still, you know, struggle sometimes, and because that have enforced myself to go through, doesn't matter what. However, those new generations that coming now, they are more certainty about themselves, and they push, because they're not dragged the way how we were exposed to. That's what I see in my site.
Absolutely, Amelia. And this is the new influx of souls that is coming in. And one more, and I want to add something to that. It's like, that is important, that's revolutionary. And it's equally important to have older generations, especially our generation here, because we are the ones, the mediums, between the old paradigm and the new paradigm, because we are the ones who can analyze one word like we do today and break it up so that lots and lots of people can actually look at that and start to appreciate it, understand it, feel into it.
Yeah.
Irina, yes.
Let's return to betrayal.
To betrayal, yes, we're still there.
So betrayal actually is a tool. It's a very important tool. And in Egyptian culture, about what we know, those 5,000 years ago, that generation, historically that time, they had a ceremony before major initiation in sarcophagus, when they would go and become universal citizens, not just human experience, but they would go outside and then they had to find their way back to body, not to be lost in that vastness of universe, find their way back to body, and then they would wake up completely different beings, not human beings actually, already naturally expanded beings. So last ceremony in preparation to this expansion and becoming different, it was sepulchre ceremony. And in translation, this is that betrayal thing when that spectacle was played with sad and betrayal, and it's the same like with Jesus on our level, closer to our history, the same thing, Judah and Jesus and all that betrayal, the same spectacle was played just to see if student being so involved emotionally in that scene, when it's betrayal of friend and teacher and all that thing, still was able to remember on a level of universal spectacle what is going on here, that it's not betrayal, it is actually ending of old and stepping into new. Where we are today, again, stepping out from system and experience as we knew it before and experienced before, and start to recognize it through that stubbornness that other beings showing to us, trying to deliver to us something is maybe different, something can be different. You see, that was last preparation thing to remember, not just on level of these emotions and few experience, human point of view, but recognize it's ending old and starting new.
Well, that's perfect. Thanks for that.
If you're remembering not to react and not to take sides of anyone on the quality experience, then they were allowed to go to this expansion experience in sarcophagus. So it's a tool. And how we got into that betrayal energy to go again, repeat and repeat our trauma, we take it emotionally and we take side.
Well, that's exactly, I think we can safely say here that pretty much every energy, we call it good or bad, is part of creating a heightened level of awareness. So like in the beginning, anything we are experiencing in the sea of suffering is obviously something that feeds into the ocean of awareness for us to expand on and learn from. And this is why, you know, when we look at stubbornness, not everyone would say, okay, stubbornness is linked to betrayal, so let me work with betrayal, let me see it where it comes from, let me see the gift of it, let me see authority, where does my issue with authority comes from, now let me see the gift of it. So sometimes, you know, this is what we do, we take things apart, we break it down so that we can then see the gift of it and see where the root cause comes from so that we can start moving beyond it. Now, before I go to my other ones, is there any from your side that as we are exploring stubbornness from that perspective? Are there any other energies that you would say are actually a part of that cocktail, that stubbornness cocktail that come to mind through the discussions that we've been having?
Can
I just want to
share
say
something?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Lana.
Okay, all right, thanks. I'm kind of like seeing it like as I'm listening to you guys discuss it, I'm seeing it from an opposite direction now. For example, if you look at stubbornness from an opposite direction, let's look at the system as being the stubborn one and not us being the stubborn one. Let's look at it from that direction. And if you look at the synonyms that associate with the word stubborn or stubbornness, you will see that most of it applies to the system itself. For example, let's call out some of them. Fixed, the headstrong, ornery, perverse, relentless, rigid, single-minded, rebellious, pig-headed. And those are just a few of the synonyms. And the system is like that towards humanity. And so I see the system as being the stubborn one and not me being the stubborn one. I'm being the most flexible one there is because I have to work with that stubbornness that the system is projecting at us. For example, your tickets that you got, Martina, from the system. You have to work with them. They're not working with you. They're coming after you. I mean, recently we got something also from the system like similar to that I don't even know where it came from. It's not even accounted for, but it's being projected at us. And then we have to go and pay that, or we end up in more trouble later on. All kinds of things they put you in, you know? And so who is the stubborn one here? You are being the flexible one in the end. And the system, you can't even get through to the system because the system is so stubborn and rigid in its ways. So that's what I'm seeing it as. So why blame us? Why blame yourself for this? I'm not blaming myself for this.
Oh, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you brought out the blame because there is no such thing as blame. We're not blaming anything. You're absolutely right. But having said that, you know, I'm very aware when I went through my authority experience that there was this law enforcement soul shard officer somewhere on a different timeline being super passionate about enforcing the law, you know, which I then had to say, okay, let's draw and pull and claim all those soul shards that are still feeding the system, having to appreciate my multidimensionality, having to appreciate that, you know, I am part of that system and used to be part of that system, and pull it in and clear my avatar from all of that. But then again, you know, as you say, Lana, not from a blame perspective, because when you start looking at, you know, situations like that, it's almost like fun. I mean, I don't think I've ever paid a fine with such joy. Like, yes, let me pay it because this is my last time and I'm pulling out of the system now. You know, I had a little chat with my law enforcement soul shard and she's out now too. So great. Irina, just 1 second. Let Tanya wanted to say something, and
yeah,
then
I'll just be quick. I wanted to just bring up what Alfredo put in the text where he says, my kids and the new generation doesn't want to work. And also what I wrote down, the quote by Buckminster Fuller, don't fight the existing system, create a new model. Right. And so these kids coming in, one of the things that AB has said before is that on Earth, we were never meant to work, right? To be on that grindstone. We're meant to explore and co-create with Earth Mother. And now we have this new generation of children coming in who are holding that perspective. But, you know, maybe they're just co-creating this new model for Earth with Earth Mother.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tanya. Irina.
So I can add to what Tanya just said. Yes, and that's why they are next generation. And like Martina said, we are medium connecting between old and new. And us, it's our responsibility today. Of course, it's your free choice. You can involve, be, or you're not involved into that. To dismantle that system with us taking our energy from those rules, from that system, to give possibility for new generation to show us how they see our new experience. You see, that's why they don't want to participate in old thing. They are waiting for us to take our energy from old structures that we created, we call it system, for them to show us what we can do with that energy we took back from that system. And then we can assist that new generation to build that new system, new relationship with world. Yes, and let's see, allow me to say a couple words about system as stubborn. This is very interesting topic. Difference only is system doesn't have straight connection to source. It's a structure. It doesn't exist without members. We are members of that system. That's why if you will point to the system, you just improve that system and fortify that system and give more energy. And actually, if you look why we would even want to do that, excuse me, to point to the system, it's our inner anger. Something didn't went how I thought I will have done. It's only our, again, inner pain. It's not the system. It's our mirror, actually. So system doesn't exist as entity. It's a structure with members inside that are holding that structure in a place and
Yes.
giving power to lead members to some experience. It's a game. This is an old game, how we got into creating some groups, some societies, and then become members just to have fun experience, yeah? And put on top those who are interested to manage, to, manipulate and control. They had fun from that, yeah? And today what we can do, don't fight. Take your energy from that system and start to remember your dreams, looking at that future generation, not our next generation, how they act in this world, what they do, especially young ones. Older ones, they already fighting, they already resisting, but young ones, they show clearly how it can be done, that not working, but exploring, co-creating in bliss.
Absolutely. And this is the point of today's show. So thank you for summarizing that, giving us the focus. Why are we even looking at stubbornness? We're looking at stubbornness because once we get out of stubbornness, we're not feeding the stubborn system. We're no longer a signature frequency match. Sandrine.
Yeah, I two things that came up, especially when you talked about the system. I remember that a long time ago when suddenly radio was available over streaming over the internet. And I found a radio show. That was when I was stuck in Vietnam in the middle of nowhere. And I was exploring, having maybe a link to the outside world. And I stumbled upon a radio that was called Free Talk Live, and those were two guys, they are based in the US, who actually were fighting the system in a sense to free everything. And I know that they had a lot of followings, and where they tried to make New Hampshire a free state, so something that is completely free of the system that currently exists in wherever we are in the society. So that was a kind of, and it took me a while. I was so interested in listening to it because it took me and was showing me this opposition of, you know, how stuck we are sometimes in something that is completely made up, you know, like in the system of getting a fine, you know. Today I went to submit the architectural project to the mayor's office here, and it was rebuked for the fact that apparently it was missing one page. The page is inside, you just have to open it on page 5, there is that page. Okay, so I went out again. So this system is like, you know, it has to be this tuck, you have to follow this. Next week, I will have to talk with an auditor, a financial auditor, which is just following, you know, all the systems very to the littlest detail. And if I don't have that paper, then I will get a remark. Okay, fine. But just saying about this free, you know, the freeing, and it's how funny it is inside of myself that I'm still, although I know I can break free of it, at least mentally, but I'm still, you know, stuck within a system also where I'm in the corporate world that I'm working at. And then the second point, and then I will finish, is that I find it very funny that currently in Luxembourg, they elected a new government, and the conservatives won. They go into a coalition with the liberals. The former government was a liberal socialist and the Green Party, and so the socialists and the Greens were voted out, and now we are back to the conservative and to the liberal. They are still within the government. But what is so funny, when you read the program of the new government, you would not even think this is a conservative government. It's like, you know, even the conservatives nowadays, they have realized that they cannot even stick to, you know, the harsh rules anymore, because the world has changed. It definitely has changed. Now they have to find a way, you know, how to still keep up with their values, you know, but they are also the ones, they are still promoting liberal, you know, economic and, you know, all this. It's opening up the private sector. Who as a conservative would ever open up completely the private sector? They have to, you know, because otherwise it's not working in this new world. And I have to say, yes, I think we are pounding a lot on the new generation, but honestly, I just come out of a week where we had young parliamentarians here in Cabo Verde that they come from the schools, and they took over the parliament for one day, and good gosh, they had very good ideas, and they are very assertive, and they know very well what is going wrong in their own community, although they are sitting there the whole day watching TikTok, but which they were even doing in the parliament. But okay, you know, but in essence, their work was really good. They know what they are doing, you know, in a sense that so it for me, that was very refreshing, and also very, you know, like, okay, we are going in the right direction, because our generation is also the one that is also being pounded on. You will never get a job. You will never, you know, you will, if you don't do this and this and that, you will end up in the street. And look where we are, you know, we are supporting the whole system currently still in that sense.
So before I take Jen has her hand up, then Irina. This is a very lively discussion today, so I have to be a bit like hand stuff. But I want to ask Sandrine one question here. Having worked with those children, or having seen the children work, or anyone else here, do you see that? Do you feel that there is a stubbornness that is being portrayed, or have they already moved on from that?
There's still stubbornness. They're
Is
still
it the
trying to
stubbornness
conform.
that we are exploring today, or is it something that we can redefine as something else, or does it still come from authority issues? Does it still come from the betrayal that we've been talked about?
Yeah, because a lot of the issues that we were discussing had to do with climate change, and you know how in the different islands here things could be done to actually promote actions or mitigation or adaptation actions on that. So they are very well aware of the problems they are facing on their daily lives, you know, with climate, and especially because you live in a place where there is no water. But it's still authoritarian in the sense that, okay, it's actually, they are pointing also the point at, you know, the current governments that are in place, like saying that it's your fault that you haven't done anything about it yet. And it's true. It's absolutely true. which is one of the things that I don't really like Greta in that sense, but I still apologize in front of Greta. When we were having the discussions back in the day on the Rio, you know, on the agreements of Rio de Janeiro in 1992, I was part of a young parliamentarian group where we were, and I'm like, I'm sorry, we messed up. We completely messed up because we were not living up to what we were trying to portray, because we were completely stuck into the mainstream of we have to have our house, our car, our this, our that, you know, conform to the system.
Cool. Nice to see another side of the stubbornness.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sandrine. Jen, you're next, and then Irina.
Yeah, I love everything that Sandrine just said. I got lots of thoughts. So where to start? The stubbornness that I see in the younger generation is not as much of a resistance to the system. It's a resistance to like the generations older than them that hold so tight to the system that they can't outcreate what we're trying to outcreate. And so when I find myself in that kind of resistance, I have to dissolve that, because we don't want to block what they are trying to create, which is something better than what we have now. And I was thinking about this on my drive to work this morning. Like, what if we did do away with the system and nobody had to work? So I had the same thought pattern this morning, like, none of us want to work, right? But will we have roads, and will we have water and electricity and things like that? And we can have anything that we want. It's simply a matter of having the foresight and the creativity to bring it into existence. And technology is a way to do that. And we are very stubborn in a lot of ways, and particularly the older generations of AI. And there is a way to use AI that will keep our comforts without having to have somebody that works for it. And that younger generation sees that. I mean, you see how attached to technology they are. They can't walk forward without having the directions in their cell phone. So a lot of it, stubbornness is us. We want it too, but we're so attached to how we get what we like now with air conditioning and indoor plumbing and transportation and things like that, that we don't see the vision of how we get from here to there. But we don't have to worry about how we get from here to there. All we have to do is see a future with all those comforts where we don't have to do what we do now to get them. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And question, Jen, would you be comfortable replacing stubbornness with vision?
Absolutely.
Now,
And
before we move on from there, I mean, just look at the energy of that. Replacing stubbornness with vision. We're taking out all the programming, all the pain, all the abuse. We're taking out authority, betrayal, plus humiliation. Yeah. Because betrayal comes with humiliation. Let me just throw this in, Irina, since I've started this thing now, you know, and talking about my stump again in the back, being cut someone down. Again, Tanya, you're a crystal lady, cut someone down to size. And that often plays out in a crowd, in front of other people, in a family. Now that's humiliation, and that is part of bloody stubbornness.
Yeah. Another point on what Sandrine was talking about with how the system, it catches you and it pulls you into that, it pulls you back in with like missing a page or whatever. Because I get a lot of that, particularly in federal work that I do. And I've learned to replace the trigger of it with like, it makes me smile, because when they do stuff like that, like I just layer in intentions and I see like my frequency in that document, like zeros and ones going through the matrix and like lighting it up. And so I like to create that equal and opposite reaction, if that makes sense. That's how I like to play with the system.
I just have to say, speaking of crystals, the crystal card I drew for our group today is Iolite, which has exactly to do with vision of what we're talking about right now, right? Out creating, right? Sending that energy through, rippling through, you know, and creating this, I don't know, bubble of reality that contains the new reality that we want to create, right? Instead of complaining and complaining and complaining, like, what are we, you know, how are we creating, right? Creating something new that we can work with going forward in this new earth.
Irina, go. Go.
So many points. Okay, let's start from system what Sandrine started talking about, that they look at that young generation and trying to give them way to show them how to, what their vision, how they would lead the country, lead the people, yeah? So look what they are, that system that today giving us what type of experience we can have here on earth. They all have lawyer education, everyone, no exceptions. If not lawyer, they're manager, but in countries that are old, they all have lawyer education. So what do? They know laws, human-made, man-made laws, and they creating those laws. And because in addition to human existence, they all have some touch to universal experience through ceremonies. We know that, yes? They are involved and into that, or through God, how they understand, yeah, with amendments and everything. So what do? They create human, man-made laws that are governing us, fortifying their system as they can in their given time. So for us, if we, like Jen said, that we didn't do our job, that's why we don't give those new generations green light to go. Yes, we didn't do our job. What is our job? To dismantle on energy level that system. Not to support that system, but again, good for you and thank you for you, those guys who got education, that you can go and be part of that system today. You can come into that system, not just, you know, hippie or something. You can be in the system. This is how you understanding what system is doing and giving your new things lawfully, working with law, making those adjustments in law. This is how we can give green light to new generation. This is how we can make our input, do our job as this middle connecting generation. So this is my point about that thing. Another my point, out create the system. This is exactly, we need to form inside of us new world, new vision, new vibration, and then only from that new vibration inside of us make our actions outside. And lots of time you will find yourself that you have to go with what you already have, those man-made rules, and then working your way to make those changes to man-made rules that you won't receive that ticket for speeding up 5 kilometers up, then it's law, but it would be some range, 30, 35, for example, on or whatever. So this is how we can change that system, not to fight, but create inside new vibration and then act from that vibration, navigating your way through what we have today outside. Yeah, this is my point. And again, what is that new vibration? Not to put into center values of the system, but put into center real values of what human experience is, then everything can work around that, not to serve system, but serve real energy connectors in this experience, humans. This is my point about that. Now,
let me before you move on, yeah, because you're making lots of great points. Hold your next point, yeah, because in order to create the system, yeah, since the system keeps on coming up, and since we're talking about stubbornness, I'd like to throw in a few questions with regards to the ingredients that we have discussed, so that we just have a little break of information flow and go a little bit back into question time for yourself. And there's no answer. I don't expect any answers. So I just want you to just look at what we've talked about: the stump, the system, the being cut down to size, the accidental strikes, the humiliation that of course comes with shame, guilt, blame, all of that. We can throw that into the cocktail as well. The betrayal, the authority. And then of course, we all know that these are gifts at the same time. But this is now just for the purpose of clearing. So we're playing in the sea of suffering for this particular moment. So don't jump out from the sea of suffering. Just allow yourself to stay there now and to just perceive it for a moment, all right? By asking the question, what portion has been left behind that keeps you looping in stubbornness? And if there's nothing, then that's absolutely fine. And if there is something, then you might want to look at that at some stage. And if it's not for anyone on this call, it might be for somebody who is looking at that. What has been removed from your essence through an accidental strike? That stub on your toe, that confusion, that not having been prepared for. What has been taken from you that you didn't see coming? What are you missing that will allow you to give you the vision to outcreate the system, work with a new generation, the new souls that are coming in? Who or what has betrayed you? And who or what have you betrayed that you could bring into your awareness now and add your forgiveness and receive, give and receive your forgiveness? The idea is to reframe the stubbornness, see it in the system, and outcreate it. In order to outcreate it, we got to get out of it ourselves. Okay, I just wanted to throw that in. And Irina, please give us your next point.
Actually, it's related to what you just brought.
Good.
Yeah. So someone mentioned, I believe Martina said, humiliation, pain, when you were continuing being stubborn, and someone pointed that to you in front of other people or in some situation where you experience that betrayal, yeah? So again, I will return to the same thing. It's a tool, stubbornness tool, betrayal tool. Humiliation, pain, it's your inner experience, inner sensations going through some situation. And when I work with people, this is what we look into. What is still triggering you in today's environment? What is still bringing you pain, reminding you about past pain? Even it's not fresh today, but it's in your childhood, in your teenage age, yeah? Even in this life. And when you're capable to recognize that this is coming not in this your life, but it's coming to you as a reminder that you had before lives with the same or similar experience, sensing, experiencing inside of you the same emotion, the same pain, and screwing that life completely, stucking in that sensation inside, being humiliated, being in pain, not able to move forward, not forgiving. If you remember that connection from your past lives, ancestral lives, to this your life, then seeking that expansion, that new vibrations, and new point of view, you can see that if you can change your perception of that experience in your past through your already expansion today, and see that you stuck in those experiences, stuck, stubbornness, stuck, the same root, the same experience, yeah? And if you can recognize that 75% of your pain, of your humiliation, what you're experiencing, already transformed, then you have to again go through several steps how to work with those memories, yeah? You can turn, flip, pain, humiliation, being in duality, in opposites. Someone did something to me, or I was hurt by someone, or I couldn't forgive someone. It's all opposition. It's all experience of duality. Yeah. Then today you can flip it into celebration of your remembering that will completely integrate that experience as just an experience, giving you more light, making you lighter and able to see wider. So
And
this is connected to that stuck experiences in your past. And if you're capable today with your today expansion already look differently, not through stubbornness as pain, but through stubbornness as I was preserving my connection to that experience all my lives. And even in this life, just to flip it, then it's completely different. Yeah.
Thank you, Irina. And also I want to bring in Lana's comment before I take Alfredo here. Lana is saying that, she said that before, she said, expand now the new reality that you have already put in place. And there is this reminder now to all of us again, that what I said in the beginning, personal healing is one thing, transpersonal healing coming back into service is another thing. Because whilst we have probably get to a certain level of healing on our personal signature frequency, we might still, lots of us are invited now to step back out again and help the narrative, the collective narrative, the collective to help again. You know, and this is why we're doing the Sea of Suffering reminders here. It's not so much that I want to drag you back into where we've been. It's to just remind ourselves that now it's time to start stepping into service. And lots of people that need our services will not be at a certain level. Now we have to chunk it back down again and go straight into the nitty-gritty. So thanks for that. Alfredo, you're next.
Hey, everybody. I was kind of in and out. I was able to listen to most of everything Bill said, but I've been, you know, stubborn in a sense that I don't want to let go of. I've been trying to figure what's going on within me because I haven't been able to manifest like I want, and there's some things I wanted to create, but I'm so stubborn and set in my ways, built up through traumas. So to me, it's like a stubborn tree that I built up through traumas, and I'm trying to, uproot this tree, just get rid of this, because I thought I cut it off, but it's still coming up, it's still there. So to me, stubbornness has been this tree stump that's just still there. It's still got deep roots within the earth. It's still sucking up nutrients from my experience. It's all part of the grand collective experience, but it's unnecessary. I need to trying to make this grow a new tree that that isn't getting leached from all these other stumps, traumas, authority figures. My mom, I let I'm seeing the traumas I went through playing out with my mom and how they're playing out in my life, whether it's work, our partner, or all this stuff, And I wanted to do something on December 6th, but I just come to the realization, it's like I gotta go inwards again. I gotta go in, because I have stuff that just keeps coming up over and over and over, and it's so obvious now. It's like creation. For me, this is what's the biggest solution: is creation, internally self-created, versus consumption. Because the free time I have, I'm just still consuming stuff, and I don't want to let it go. And even when I was confronted, it's like, here I go again, just consuming more stuff. I haven't created what I want to create, but I just keep consuming. I'm caught up in the collective or whatever, maybe the suffering or whatever's going on. I just let it overwhelm me, and I just keep going into it.
So this is
the basic point, yeah, creation versus consumption. That's my biggest teaching right now. I'm glad I volunteered to do this, because the closer I'm getting to December 6th, the more I realize, like, damn it, this is something I got to work on, like, right now, because it's so obvious in my face. Like, all the work that I don't want to do, like, I just got to do it now, I got to be creating versus consuming, and I got to take a more vigilant action and be more disciplined with myself. I mean, I'm already very disciplined in all these key things, but it's not.
So
crucial.
So Alfredo, let me ask you a question.
Tell me, Martina. I want.
Would you say, would you think that looking at stubbornness today, from all the different elements that we've discussed, has that assisted you in your, let's call it, struggle?
Yes.
Look at it as a stubbornness, because I do know that you put yourself a lot of stress on, and as you say, a lot of consumption and stuff like that. So if you could consider that a stubbornness that is rooted, and I'm not saying this is the only thing, rooted in authority, in betrayal, humiliation, shame and guilt, and all of that. By taking out the little roots, all those roots, you can pull out that stubbornness completely and just reframe it.
Yes.
So maybe it's a good thing today for you to listen to the replay, because also we're going to do something. I'm going to do a revocation at the end. Yeah, that might be useful for you as well. And also, if you think of the analogy, think of the metaphor, the stump, the tree stump. Yeah. What does stubborn say? It says, yes, it's easy to cut down the tree to move everything on top, but it's more difficult to take out the stump. Now, why, as you say, you are the tree, why would you want to take out the stump? You just want to start growing that tree again. And how do you plant? How do you nurture and nourish a tree? What can you add to your life? And what can you stop making yourself wrong for? To get out of the stubbornness. Let the system be stubborn. It's not your thing. It's not your baby anymore. It's not your father's company. Let them have it. Outcreate it. What can you learn from your children? What do they, in fact, teach you on a daily basis?
Now the carefree living.
Does the tree judge itself?
No.
When it loses its branches, or does it say, hey, okay, cool, great, I've been pruned. Next year, I'm going to come out even better, even bigger. Yeah.
Another one, new, strong.
So stubbornness does not necessarily, there are, obviously, we brought up some stuff that, we can consider, as a contribution, but the majority of stubbornness is really rooted in wounding. And there comes a time where, like Irina, says, move beyond it. Gotta move beyond it and have that vision that, Jennifer mentioned. that out-creation that we've all mentioned.
Yes.
Cool. So I'm going to take one more question here, Irina. Or what? Take a question. Whatever you want to say. Say what you want to say, and then I want to do a revocation to finish it off. Yeah. From one of my clearing marbles.
I want to continue what Alfredo brought, and from more expanded point of view. You see, again, returning to stubbornness. It's a tool for us to remember what we were experiencing during those limitations times, how we stuck in those our ancestral past experiences, because we have our energy still there. That's why this is that creation is about experience, nothing else. We know that. So we didn't want to leave this place in the beginning, and we were trying to enter this place because of our stuck experiences. This is stubbornness coming from. I want to take that experience I ever experienced in this era of limitations with me whenever I go next. This is what made us return again and again. And this is stuck experience we're holding us to come here to take those experiences as record, as light into our light body, to continue our journey as consciousness. So this is how you can see positive side. And many times when we have that stubbornness, it's reminding us about duality game, not just that you need to continue your way and prove your way and move into that direction, but sometimes you need to remind yourself that you are humble. Remember, you humble, but because you're made of earth, you're just human, and you are noble, you're made of stars. So we have to have those two vibrations inside of us in balance, working together. In many times, our stubbornness reminding us to look back and recognize that we forgot about that humbleness vibration inside of us. And I'm not saying about surrenderness, no, not that, but humbleness as recognizing human, star, earth, star, all that we never were just one, just because of stars, because of earth. We all the time were two of us, all the time inside of us. And many times because of we forgot about our humbleness, we were pushing forward already in distorted experience, making for us more and more difficult to get to what you remember inside of you. That is point one. And another thing you said, Martina, you don't have to take that stamp from that you have behind you on a picture from Earth. Like Sandrine said, you can prune, and you, Martina, said, you can use that old experience, old pain to prune new tree, like you are saying, guys. You see, and this is what you can do really here. Not to try root that stump and plant something new. You already had that tree. So that tree, remember what you are trying to plant. It can give you just to start looking into that stubbornness and nobleness and humbleness inside of you. What is that telling to you? So it's a very kind like thin thing, but druids, like Sandrine reminded us, this is what they did. They were planting tree, using the same tree, the same experience from past to bring new something. It's our energy. You can't throw that energy. You want to have that energy with you whenever you move. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think Alfredo, you want to say something too, yeah?
Oh no, I like that. Yeah, because I don't know. I guess I'm fighting it. I'm fighting it. I'm just trying to nullify the energy that's there, but I
It's
can
also,
redirect the energy, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just seeing it from different angles, so I can kind of work with this. And take
Yeah,
a
and
different
also,
approach, because I don't want to just take the same. I don't want to be stubborn and set in my way and taking the same old approach I take every time, same old path. It's like I could try
it's
Arena's path.
you know what? There's an additional path to look at now, and we've mentioned that now as well. Because remember, stubbornness. We are all potent, powerful people that have come to this earth at this time. I'm not talking about us 6, 7 here. I'm talking about the entire humanity, because we're building the new human, the future of the new human. Now, we've come here. This was the galactic ascension machine, what that was for. So we're all stubborn little fucks, because otherwise we knew exactly what we were getting ourselves into by coming here, because we've done it so many times. So it's not about, saying there's something wrong with us. There's saying, well, Jesus, yes. Is it tough? It is. Because now we're also starting to clear the collective. So be very aware, Alfredo, are you still clearing your own shit, or are you actually already stepping up your service and haven't acknowledged that yet? Is your tree really a stump? Have you actually looked at your tree of late? That's every one of us. Let's look at your trees. Are they really stumps, or are they beautifully flowering already? And we just haven't looked, forgotten to look. It's already there. We've already created everything. We're working backwards. We just have to remind ourselves.
We're working backwards because we have been pushed into the system, from early on, from very early on, instead of when we were open vessels, completely full in our emotional root chakra, creation, solar plexus, going forward, full of energy as children and adolescents and teenagers. We are being pushed down, and put the lid on it, and you have to learn this, and you have to. And this is actually what I'm currently experiencing, is that I'm going through my chakras, and then I went through my life, and I'm like, my goodness, I have been completely bottled down, and and stuck back into it just at the moment where everything was just coming out, and I didn't know what to do with it, and nobody helped me, because it was like, you're stupid, you are too extravagant, you're too loud, you're too this, you're too that, and I'm like, okay, you see. And now that in the middle of my life, I'm like, yeah, my tree, I mean, I'm that very tall person, but my tree was actually a bonsai at one stage, and now it's like whoosh coming out, you see. I'm like, what's happening? And but I needed also to clean a lot, and it's very difficult and very challenging. There are some things that are still nagging that I cannot yet get rid of, and that's okay. It will take some time, it will be okay. Just breathe through it and we will be fine. I have to tell that to myself as well. But one of the things and that is one of the synchronicities that I have been come up lately a lot, is a lot with the cleaning of your own body, the cleaning of the cleansiness of your body. I'm not saying that you now have to all go on a trip of cleaning the pipes like mad, but just like get back to the normal way of what does my body actually need, what is it that I'm feeding, what is it that I'm digesting, what is it that I'm, and just go with that. Nobody tells you that you have to be vegan tomorrow. Absolutely not. It's nonsense, honestly. It's like, what does my body need? What am I craving? What are my cells looking for? And all that. So it's just recently that I'm, all this is, it's like, yeah, well, absolutely. It's just clearing up for me, and it's wonderful. But it's like, why has nobody told me that before? Because I've been bogged down by the system. And I do believe that maybe this newer generation, because the new agey things were very far out there, but now we are coming up with things that are like you know, actually kind of like mainstream common sense things, like, you know, what you're putting into your body is what you're going to be. It's like, why wasn't that obvious? You know, it has always been obvious, but now it's becoming more and more obvious, you know, because that is what we see. So
you're absolutely right. It's becoming more and more obvious because more and more people, we're starting to reach critical mass, what they call, with more and more people waking up. The energies are streaming in, the beauty, the radiance. If you look at our pictures, I mean, I'm when I look at the pictures that I'm taking now, you know, it's not Lana's pictures, whoever posts, it's just like, what is that? There is a certain radiance about that. So it's almost like the 8th or 9th color of time that's coming in. And I think the more we actually just focus on the beauty, the more we allow ourselves to brace that energy. And that's obviously stolen from the Celestine prophecy. So, you know, that's what they said. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're so right. I have to read exactly that right now. So, and also, you know, I mean, look at the metaphorical imagination, visualization. This is the new thing this is the new kids on the block. That's how we are starting to create beyond uncertainty of the system, beyond our knowingness and all of that. So keep looking at that stump. Look at the tree, see what it looks like. It looks different on a daily basis. Once you have an apple tree, then you have cherry blossoms, you know. Sometimes, you know, you find yourself in winter and there's no leaf on it. So all of that, those internal representations, those internal pictures that our subconscious throws up are hugely important and very, very useful to look at. And then, of course, when you go for your walks, you connect with the trees, you become the bloody trees. Choose one, become it, shapeshift into it, drink its juice, get nourished by it, you know, that kind of thing. So guys, you're just amazing. I mean, what a great show. But I would like to do, if you would like, unless you have to rock it off here, but I'd like to just bring it all together, read my revocation of the clearing marbles. Are you happy to do that?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the shame, blame, guilt, regret, and sadness that I will be reading out now. And before we do this, again, index, middle finger up onto the third eye, and take your other middle finger and just hook into your belly button and just clear your energy field of all the energies now, because we've intermingled now. If you look at what the energy is like, whoosh, this one taking, this giving. So let's just clear it all out. Get your energy, get your auric field back into your own. With gratitude, send them back to sender. And just get yourself back into your little auric egg here. And then just sit back and just allow me to read this. And it's a bit of a mix. It's a bit of a mix, I think. So what do you love about still beating yourself up instead of choosing a different reality? Just take a few deep breaths here. With every inhalation, feel your joy and lightness expanding within you. Allow yourself to simply be, as being is the ultimate source of creation. Allow yourself to see. Let your spirit be free and let your mind be open. Allow yourself to understand how to be here in this contemplative now, where we get the opportunity to see whole new layers of ourselves. Now tune into the sounds within you and listen to the vibrations that flow through you. Let go of anything that is stopping you from opening your heart to this place of clarity and unbounded love, so familiar and yet so densely hidden. No thinking at all, only awareness, silence, profound sense of peace. Remember that you're worthy of all the love and happiness in the world, irrespective of your background or your social standing. Can you identify what you regret so deeply that it causes you to constantly blame and criticize yourself? How are you distorting the concept of infinite self-acceptance that fuels the blame, shame, and guilt arising from your choices? Can you pinpoint a moment in time when you made that decision and that you were not worthy enough to be fully empowered and make choices for yourself? Who did you learn that from? Forgiving yourself is part of through receiving and healing the self-worth. How long has it been since you got lost in the perverted minds of others that still keep you incarcerated, imprisoned, small and limited? Denial is not going to free you from the shackles of shame, break open the memories associated with blame and guilt. The ones who blame us for their difficulties and problems perpetuate the cycle of victimhood and reinforce narcissistic tendencies, creating division, conflict, accusations, blame, shame, guilt, sadness, and regret. When are you going to step out of the circle of blamers and shamers, whether they are family, trusted friends, or others? Have you fallen into these behavioral patterns yourself? Are you one of them? Who decided for you to peck with the chickens whilst you could be soaring with the eagles? Everywhere you have become a master of entrainment, taking on other people's desires and passions without ever questioning what your universe is made of, or what you require, or what you desire. You now have a choice to change that. Is it time to spread your wings? Reclaim all your beingness that has been hijacked and turned into frantic doingness. Transmute this energy into a state of non-frantic doingness. Transmute this energy into a state of non-directionality, a simple state of existing, without having to feel ashamed or remorseful. Inspired kindness is the spark that ignites creativity and drives individuals to create something new and unique. I'm wondering if you can hear this, or can you not? At any moment, you can shift from the frequencies of shame, blame, regret, and sadness into stillness, where you can simply exist without having to attend to chores, tasks, duties, responsibilities, expectations, or demands. Taking a break from the constant demands of daily life can give your avatar a chance to recharge and rejuvenate. How can the simple joy of being yourself call you back once more to you, your I am Apex avatar, without allowing your super psychic skills to sap, trap, pull in, and suck up other people's dirty, toxic, malicious, foul, vile, abhorrent, corrupt energies and pains? Say no more to always saying yes to the guidance or misguidance of others that may lead you astray from optimizing your unique potential. The antidote to blame, shame, guilt, regret, or sadness is simply making a choice that no one else can make for you. Demand of yourself to allow true love and compassion back into your life, to motivate you back into being. Everywhere you have aligned and agreed, resisted and reacted to your own or other people's actions, non-actions, reactions, responses, and all that jazz that doesn't allow your soul's orchestra of consciousness to be played, heard, and listened to, now is the time to let that go. Destroy and uncreate the many versions of yourself that judge, begrudge, blame, and shame you and others into non-existence. Hear the cries of your inner child wanting to be honored, admired, and respected as a potent contributor, a facilitator and supporter of all truths. There is a brilliant genius you underneath of all that old shame, blame, regret, and guilt. This is also where sadness lives and breeds its discontent. Do not suppress sadness when it arises, as it is an inherent aspect of your human experiences, resulting from loss and disappointments. How much are you still making yourself less and sad in order to meet the requirements of social or intimate interaction? That's called self-abuse. All the incarcerations of the self and others that are holding you captured and locked up in the deepest dungeon possible, are you now willing to search for the key to unlock the prison of your mind? Consider this. What if, from an infinite perspective, there is no duality worth fighting for? What if instead of dwelling on blame and guilt, you can choose an unbiased observation and break through the cycles of self-judgment or blaming others for your situation? All of the blame that paints your world black or white, instead of using the colorful spread of the artist's palette, will you choose to let it go? No more should haves, would haves, becauses, and supposed tos. Just a simple choice between what works for you and what doesn't. How many barriers have you created through consistently trying to make yourself invisible, whilst desperately wanting to be acknowledged? How does pushing away anyone who seeks intimacy with you work for you? All those walls and cages, the hidden, lost, veiled, and buried ones across all lifetimes, dimensions, galaxies, and universes, now is the time to bring them down. Release, relax, and dissolve those imaginary restrictions and constraints, triggered by old memories, perceived pains, grievances, and humiliations. How many regrets, how much stubbornness is leading you astray, away from your path of transformation, from the joy of playful co-creation? Unique and untethered beingness brings us together as humanity, empowered and inspired action and divine love that flows through us unites all parts of ourselves and our species. Allow yourself to be immersed in this love, cleansed and freed from blame, shame, guilt, regret, or sadness. You, the mind love action. You, the body love presence. You, the soul love wisdom. Invisibly co-creating, omnipotent and omnipresent. Celebrate you in all your magnificence, and us as the unified power of love and action. And so it is. Aho.
Aho.
Yay. Aho.
Oh.
All right, lovelies. On that note, I love you. Thanks for coming on. Great show. And we'll have Alfredo next week on the 6th. And then we'll take it from there. Good to see you all, huh? Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.